Hey, good morning, everyone. We are here again this morning. We're having a good technical problems, but nothing that is insurmountable. So I'm here with you, and I'm looking out. I'm not seeing my folks this morning, but while they are getting themselves organized, I will try to get into my wood to the wise. Something is going wrong, really wrong this morning. I just don't know why. I don't know how, I don't know why, but something is really wrong this morning. Uh, I don't have to jump like everybody else and say, the devil is fighting me, the devil is fighting me. Sometimes we fight ourselves. And sometimes if you don't prepare well, you know the consequence of not preparing well. It happens all the time. So I'm trying at this last stage to make sure I give you a good program that will benefit you wherever you are this morning. I want to make sure that you have a good program. All right. On my way to revise this morning, last night I was looking at many many different videos across the place. And what was the big issue last night for me is that America have declared the space around Venezuela to be a no-fly, but that would say space no-fly zone. Now, there's many things with that. First, they begin to have to make a no-fly zone in a sovereign country. To do that, it must be done by force. There's no other way. It must be done forcibly. But not only they said Venezuela, uh, not only said Venezuela, but they said airspaces around Venezuela, airspaces around Venezuela, and this is troubling. It means, therefore, that airspaces close to Tobago and Trinidad and Grenada will be in danger. I hope not. But I am still where most of you may be, and that is the chief secretary saying he was not informed that radars were set up in his country. So the American informed Grenada, they informed Trinidad, and he was not informed. If he was not informed, then when he's saying that there were some direct and how must say disrespect had been shown to him, and if this sort of disrespect had been shown to him, what will his response be? What will his response be if he was so disrespected? And I'm looking at the whole thing and I'm wondering to myself, well, how could this happen in our country? How could we come to the place to have people lying for us and telling us they lied? Well, I did not want to tell you the truth. This country do not belong to Kamla Prasad Bisesa. It does not. This country belongs to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We have elected representatives. We have elected representatives in in the parliament that even if some have to be done that is inimical to us, it must be done in such a way that the all parliamentarians ought to know because they represent the rest of us. If you don't want to tell the 1.4 million of us, people who represent us ought to know. And the idea that you are saying you are keeping these things from us, it can't be you are saying it is national security when you agree with the killing of people. It cannot be that you will agree to the killing of people and then turn around and then say that, hey, here what's happening, huh? We cannot say what is happening. Friends, our country has never been at such a perilous or a precarious position in all the history of Trinidad and Tobago. We are in danger. If America decide to hold their threat as a serious threat, if they decide to do that, then what will happen? What will happen if they decide to do that? And Venezuela say, no, this is our airspace. You can't stop us from flying in our airspace. Friends, then missiles will fly. There's a radar system in Tobago now that is a target. The rest of Trinidad, I'm reading online this morning, and they said 2 Caribbean countries are supporting America, the Dominican Republic and Trinidad and Tobago. But the Dominican Republic is very far away. And I'm only hoping that good sense prevail. And sometimes, somewhere, somehow, the government will build up the courage to tell America, if you want to do this, go it on alone. We don't want to be part of this. But this, I don't think will happen. I don't know what's shared. We don't know what was shared with Rubio and our Prime Minister in Miami. We don't know in New York, sorry. We don't know. We don't know what was shared with Gaines who came here and spent 4 days and seemed to be enjoying our doubles. We don't know what was shared. And the fact that whatever the Prime Minister knew, she was not willing to share it with Rubio, with Fari. It says a lot of what is happening. I looked at Fari last night. I felt sorry for him, trying to make a case for why he was not told, trying to make a case saying that he knows what is happening. And I recognize our country is at an edge most perilous. And I don't know if you are seeing it. I don't know what you are seeing. I don't know what you are hearing. I don't know what you are feeling. But I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it. And I'm wondering what can the population do in times like these? I'm wondering if the population can do something in times like these. I'm wondering what is the next move? What is the next step in times like these? And the more I wonder, the more troubled I become of what has plunged our country into this miasma. A word to the wise is sufficient. Our program this morning, I don't know if we have got on to view I don't know if we have got onto VOP radio and those stations out there in Queens and in Brooklyn. I don't know if we have got onto them. I just don't know what is happening with them. And I just hope that Wayne will call me. If he's not hearing me, I don't know if he will call me to tell me what's going on. These are the days, friends. I didn't see Allison this morning. I did not see Akira this morning. And I wondering what could be the problem this morning. Really, I'm wondering what could be the problem this morning. I don't know. Oh, well, I'm seeing Candice is on, but I don't know for the rest what is happening. 22. Okay, I'll just try to go to add while I try to fix what is happening. I don't like being this complicated. I don't like when I find myself in this situation. I really don't. Something feel bad about that. So I will just see if we can how we can fix this. We craft each piece carrying the weight of our history, the breakdown of our future, the spirit that portion.
Vibrant tapestry we are today. Our flag witnesses it all. Carry our story proudly. Choose Baker's flags and emblems. Visit us today.
JD Furniture Store, we believe the things you choose for your home should last your family years to come. Whether it's a cozy furniture for your bedroom, living room, or kitchen appliances, we've got it all. Obsess over your home's comfort, and we'll obsess to ensure it's affordable with zero-down options and home by you in no time. Visit JD Furniture, showroom in Arima, or www.jdfurniturestore.com to buy and apply today. Open weekdays only. Call or WhatsApp 219-3000 today.
For 62 years, the Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventists has been writing stories of recovery, resilience, and renewal. Here, healing isn't just about medicine. It is about finding peace in a comfortable environment, strength in our state-of-the-art facilities, and hope in every interaction. At the Community Hospital, we are more than your healthcare providers. We are your neighbors, your friends, your family in healing. Your journey to wellness begins with a single call. Let's write your story of healing together.
For all your healthcare needs, give us a call at 622-1191 or visit our website, thecommunityhospital.org, to make an appointment today.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
Where good private healthcare is affordable.
We are back, and I am not seeing. I didn't see Alison Brown this morning. I know Candice is there, so we are speaking sex this morning, and I trust and pray that you'll enjoy what we have to offer. Candice, haven't seen you in quite a while. What's happening?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Pastor. Yes, I am fine. I'm glad to be here this morning. And like you would have mentioned, Pastor, we're having a very interesting discussion this morning about sex. And this is something that tends to be a taboo topic, but it's a topic that we enjoy talking about because, it's something that God would have created, which we'll get into in a bit. But I want to start off the discussion with a question. You hear persons talk about sex and it seems like a very affectionate act or process. And so I want to ask then, why did God create or allow sex to have such a degree of affection involved?
All right. Sex is broad. I like the question that we're starting with. I hope folks are out there in Queens 99.5 in VOP Praise and in Brooklyn and we are on more platforms now than we were when we were at Real TV. So I hope folks are listening in this morning. Now, why is sex so rewarding? How does the brain respond to sex? And can that explain why humans find it so pleasurable? I want to start away from what you said there to go to the science of it. Our genitals have a high concentration of specialized nerve endings that, when properly stimulated, send signals to the spinal cord and the region of the brain that process touch and pleasure and activate one's fight or flight sympathized response. At the height of organism, I saying sex is different from every other. Sex and food carry these same things. You may not notice so much in food, but it carry these same things. And I will say why it is like that also. At the height of organism, brain activity peaks in regions like the posterior hypothalamus region, which causes increased breathing rate and blood pressure. And regions like the ventral tegmental area, the substantia nigra, and the nucleus accumbens, which are involved to reward, motivate, and create addiction also. Additionally, sex increases the activity of the mesolimbic dopamine pathway, a neutral circuit that is active during feeding. I come back to sex and food, pain relief, and drug addiction. Sex is by far the most complex and pleasurable emotion known to man. It's also a social activity that attracts study from sociologists and biologists and everyone. You see, we go back to Genesis 1:20. I'm answering your question here. Don't find it long-winded. I'm answering. I want to get a nice foundation going. Genesis 1:20 says, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. No, so additionally, this command is reiterated by God in 9:7 in Genesis 9:7, which states, "And you be fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein." Now God gave this command with the many commands, but the command God demonstrated in his love for us in a broader way. He not only gave it, but he made it pleasurable. And the only way for us to be able to multiply and replenish this earth is if this is made pleasurable. So he said, why did God make such affection? Every child on this earth is a product of sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. I would add in marriage, because there are more babies being born out of marriage than in marriage. But without sex, there can't be fertilization in the female fallopian tubes. And God, knowing this very well, created sex to not only be used for procreation of children in the context of marriage, but He made it highly enjoyable that people will do it as a safeguard to the maintenance of the human race. If sex and food were painful and annoying, we as a people, Candice, would have been gone already. So God have made it such affection that it will be a desire for all to do, even animals, all to do, because God didn't want to show up every Monday morning to create a man or create two men. He left that part up for us now by having the science to get it done of the whole idea of fertilization, but then the idea He sent to us, make it pleasurable that we can do it. And that is why He made it that way, because for the earth to remain populated, it has to be done by something that human beings enjoy.
Yes, thanks for that, Pastor. It was very clear and understandable. I know a lot of persons didn't really think about it in that way, so I'm sure that would have cleared up some thoughts. You would have mentioned a while ago about you wouldn't add in marriage because there's a lot of babies being born outside of marriage and within marriage as well. So I want to ask, coming out of that, is the issue of sex then a pervasive practice among certain groups, or do you think it's common across the board? It doesn't matter who you are.
Well, in the area of sexuality, sociologists focus their attention on sexual attitudes and practices, and not on physiology or anatomy. So sexuality is viewed as a person's capacity for sexual feelings. Now, studying sexual attitudes and practices in a particular interesting field of sociology, because sexual behavior is a cultural universal, meaning that behavior differ in different cultures for many historical reasons. Throughout time and place, the vast majority of human beings have participated in sexual relationship. Each society, however, interprets sexuality and sexual activity in different ways. And it has to do a lot about how religious is the society, how structured is the society, how long has the society existed, how the female and the male are seen in those societies will decide how, in a lot of ways, how sexuality will be treated. Many societies around the world have different attitudes about premarital sex, the age of sexual content, homosexuality, masturbation, and other sexual behaviors. At the same time, and hear me, sociologists have learned that certain norms are shaped among most societies. The incest taboo is present in every society, though which relative is deemed unacceptable may differ in different societies. For sex varies widely from who can do it, when they can do it, and that's why we have parts of Africa, they have still have female mutilation, because in their view, sex is something for a man to enjoy, and women should not enjoy this because women are a lesser species. So as you go from society to societies, sex is treated in a different way. What is considered normal in terms of sexual behavior is based on the morals and values of a society. If someone from Bahrain or Saudi Arabia is dropped in Trinidad on Carnival Tuesday or even Monday, what he or she will witness is he will call it sexual activities. But we call it dancing and whining and having a good time. They will see it as sexual activities and they will see it in the most negative of immoral behavior. But we here is okay. The only time we will see it as immoral is if the person gone downtown this morning in a underwear and a little bra and a little stocking and begin to whine on a pole downtown and whine on a bus downtown. We will see it as extremely vulgar. But come February, this person having the same clothing, doing the same thing, we will not see anything wrong with it. And when I say we are talking about the population, I'm not talking about me per se. I'm talking about the population, we will not see anything about it. And that's because what is given as sexuality in a society has to do with the culture of the society. Individuals are socialized to sexual attitudes by their family, by the education, by the system, by the peers, by the media, and by religion. Historically, religion has been the greatest influence on sexual behavior in most societies. But in more recent years, peers and media have emerged as the greatest influence on sexual behavior. So the question you ask, is someone doing more or less? It has to do with the culture of that society. And even the culture of the society, there are subcultures. And the subculture, some people will not kill me for this. The subculture, even in Trinidad, Africans who tend to be more sexually wayward. And it's because of this family have not been structured as the way Indian families are structured or Chinese families are structured. They are stronger family structure. And because of that, and then African societies are individual societies. People run around as individuals. In Chinese and Asian societies, it is more the family that determine the behavior. But in Afro societies, and this is about half of the population, it's not the society that determines that. That is determined by individual. If I feel to do it, I do it. My family might be strong, but they will not want to ostracize me for it. But when you go into these Asian families, that kind of behavior, they ostracize. That's why those young girls wait until they get to UE to make a mask, because they can't do it in the community because it's not kosher in their community.
Yes, thanks for that, Pastor. You would have mentioned or touched on the issue of religion just now. And so growing up in church, you always taught to only enjoy sex within the bounds of marriage, and so that's usually just the punchline that is given, usually without any kind of education as to why. So I want to ask then, what are the real negative consequences of having sex?
Well, there are those that we all know, the risk of UTIs, the whole idea of bruises and things like that, losing interest in the act, depending of what you have. But and I could go on to exhaustion, so penis scraping of the vulvar skin and all these things. But the real negative is holding relationships together after you have gone out there and had sex with Tom, Dick, Harry, Henry, George, Fred, and all of them. Because what happens eventually, these thalamic region of the brain that we spoke about, they are memory centers. And in those memory centers, what is stored there are things that you enjoyed. And once you enjoy things, it is easy for those things to come back to you in a given situation. Now, let me make that a little clearer. When someone have been having sex over a period of time with 20 different people, they gain different experiences, and some they enjoy tremendously and some they don't enjoy. When they get into a marriage relationship now, this is the greatest negative of having sex all over the place. What comes back to them in those thalamic regions of the brain, which are those pleasure centers of the brain, is what they enjoy tremendously. So they look for certain foods that they enjoyed, certain places that they went and they enjoyed, and certain sexual experience, which is the most powerful of all emotions. And what happened when they get married and they are accustomed having sex with John, Henry, George, Figaro, everybody, Sing, Chen, Monegal, and they come into that marriage situation, it comes back to them. Because after a while, their spouse may not be doing the things that Munira used to do, or George used to do, and those feelings come back. And after a while, the very sex that was supposed to bond the marriage and make the marriage joyful, it become a chore. It become a chore. And in their mind, they wondering, well, why I'm not enjoying. I remember a young lady coming to me for counseling. And what she said to me is Pastor, he's not pleasing me. No, if you know me, I like to hear everything. So I asked her, I said, so why he's not pleasing you? No, and I asked her why. I said, how do you know he's not pleasing you? And she kept looking at me as the deer caught in the trap. I said, no, you said he's not pleasing you. How do you know that he's not pleasing you? And she kept looking at me. And then I said to her, I will tell you how you know. Because you have a lot of references to draw from. I said, if you had no reference and you had gone the way that God say, and that you all had a proper courtship and you marry and he wasn't sleeping around and you were not sleeping around. I said, everything that I would have done in that bed would have been well done, beautifully done, thankfully done, and graciously done. I said, but because you have references, you know something is different here. And that is why he's not pleasing you anymore, because you're drawing on some references that is not in the bedroom with you anymore. I've had people coming to me and say that when they're having sex, they are thinking about somebody else. That's the only way for them to get the job done. And then it becomes a chore. And after a while, it becomes so hard that the best way for you to do is to get a divorce. But I'll tell you something. Those same problems that you are having with your spouse because of those references you have, a new sexual partner, a new marriage partner, those same things will surface again. So what you need to do is really to be counseled out of it. Get a good counselor and be counseled out of it. But just leaving because he's not pleasing you and going to someone else to please you, yeah, they might please you for a day or two, a week, a month, maybe a year, but you'll fall back in that same situation. And that is why, Candice, this sex before marriage, this sex that people running around with, that is a danger. And that's why we have such a high divorce rate. They won't tell you that, but that is why we have such a high divorce rate. Because too many people enter in their marriages with so many references. I hope I answered.
Yes, he did. And Pastor, at the top of the conversation, we spoke about sex being something that's so affectionate and so alluring. But you know that we've noticed that when you begin to have sex, it becomes even more alluring. So I want to ask then, why do you think that is? Why does sex become more alluring once you start having it?
Because you're set in your brain is set. All over your brain, you have these things going. That is why you can't eat one food at all. But if you grew up in your father's home there, and every day was bread and cheese and juice, and every day, every morning, you would have been eating that just the way the cow eat the grass. It would have been no thing for you to say, well, I thought that is bread and cheese, yeah? I want to try something else. You're trying things because from a child, they begin to open that thalamus region of the brain and open those pleasure centers, and you find that need for more and more and more different things. Sex remain the same thing also. Remember I said sex and food are the things that God gave us to stay alive. So when you went back into your marriage or whatever, you have all those things still there. You still remember how good Joan was and how George was and the time you spent with Sonny Girl and you all those things are there. And when you are having sex now, you expect some of those things, but they're not coming. And your mind begins to stray upon those things. And then the wife who was supposed to be so nice and everything get old. And as they get old, you begin to search your mind and search your heart for other things. And before you know it, you are wandering and you're all over the place. And they say she bad. And they say she horning. And then she a bad woman. No. Here's what's going on. She's just responding to her body, responding to her mind, responding to the things that have become part of. And that's why it is being done. She know better than you. She know worse than you. Is that the things that she had been exposed to, you have not been. Those things are not part of your pleasure centers. So you are not whoring after it as someone else will be doing, because you have been placed in your whole process of your socialization, have placed you into places where you never found yourself doing those things. So those things are not part of you. I hope I answered you.
Yes, thanks, Pastor. We spoke a good bit about sex, in terms of the references and sleeping around and such. But I want to bring marriage into the conversation now. And could you tell us about sex within the context of marriage then, and the relevance to the discussion that we're having this morning?
And I'm going back to my favorite writer, Ellen White. Ellen White said there's nothing closer to heaven than a good marriage. See, the only thing better than that is heaven. But she also said there's nothing closer to hell than a bad marriage. And because of the intricate part that sex plays in marriage, you want a good marriage because you want heaven on earth. And if the sex is not good, sex bonds, Remember, if you and your husband get married, and when you get married, you tell your husband, well, I didn't get married to have sex, I don't think I'll be having sex. In fact, I think the thing is dirty. And he can show up the next morning before the magistrate and get a divorce. Because once there was no sexual activities that I would have for it, Once that consummation, once there was no consummation of the marriage, and the consummation is done through sex. So even in the secular world, they understand the importance of sex to our marriage. But sex builds bonds. The more you have sex, the more the bonding happens. And that's why when you see your daughter or your son start to give you problems, that's when they start having sex. They are building bonds elsewhere. And the bonds that they have with you, which is a parental bond, it has been broken because sex is the most powerful emotion that is known to man. So the marriage will be stronger if there's less references. And if you are affectionate to your husband and you all love each other, and the references were bad references, after a while they will forget all those references and the two of you. But sex is the glue that bonds the marriage together, that make them friends and family. Sex is that thing. So it is very important and is relevant to marriage that they have sex as much as they can. In fact, Paul said, do not separate yourself. Reach for prayer and fasting and then come together. So he understood that the sex is the bond that holds the marriage together. Bad marriages don't have sex in them, Don't. They just don't. You go right ahead.
Thanks, Pastor. So, oftentimes we would hear, or we would even see or experience, stories of younger and younger persons having sex. I remember growing up being in primary school, they would have certain discussions with you and so forth. But you're seeing even younger, especially with social media and all these different things that, as the generations, younger and younger, 5 years, 6 years old, they're exposed to sex and these sorts of things. So why do you think that is, that younger and younger generations are not just being exposed to it, but they're also practicing sex?
Yeah, because the teaching is not from the home, and sometimes from the home, but the teaching is from the general society, from the media. Having sex for the first time as a young age is linked with various negative outcomes. But and that is the poor and underprivileged youth are more likely to have sex than those who are instructed families going to proper schools and things like that. But researchers have also attributed the whole institutionalization of things like racism, things like poverty, things like class has become so much in the institution that when movies or the media demonstrate sexual activity, there's nothing really for those young people to go. The poor and the underprivileged and the backward and the uneducated. The only thing that will bring them certain feelings of pleasure become sex. Because all the other things that the middle class and upper middle class and the privilege have, they don't. They don't. So the sense that the most powerful emotion known to man is sex. And then when they and it's always in their talk because they can't talk about anything else. They can't discuss anything else because of where they are. But they can discuss sex because the media is also feeding it to them. And so they are likely to have sex at younger age when they are poor. And what we are witnessing in the society is a changing society where social media has separated teenagers from the family. And they are being taught that there is a dossier that outline what a teenager should do. And one of the things that teenagers should do is have sex. If you're a teenager and you're 16, 17, and you're rhyming in that crowd, rhyming in the world for that matter, and you have not had sex, they make you feel inferior. They make you feel that you have done something wrong. So why the young people are out there, they talk sex and they talk about their sexual partners, and sex seems to be a winning thing. So once they are out there and they are younger now, there are children who don't talk to their parents. They're vexed with them, They just don't talk to them. They come home from school, they put on their book, they have something to eat, they eat, and they go into their room. They don't say go and play outside anymore. And they go into their rooms and they begin that process where they're on their phone. And don't think that they're on the phone only for schoolwork, They're on the phone for everything that is available on the phone. And some things just pop up on them and lead them to a link that lead them to another link. And when they log into that link for any sort of time, the algorithms will take them back there tomorrow when they get up on that device. And before they know it, they are viewing things and they are hearing things that they're not supposed to see or hear. And at that young, tender age, the thalamic region of the brain become so pervasive with these things that these are the only things that become pleasurable to them, that make sense to them, that will help them to enjoy life. With all these things, life will be boring and dark and a terrible way. You see, Candice, the problem is that I used to think the way most Christians think once upon a time, before I started to study human behavior, sociology. And then I came to the place to understand that we are, there's a saying in sociology, I am not who I am. I am not who I am. And I can say for you, Candice, you are not who you are. And that seemed confusing. How do you mean I'm not who I am? How you mean how can you say that? You are not, Candice, who you are. And all those who are listening to me, I can watch them in the face and say, you are not who you are. And it sounds strange, but the sociologists will break it down to you to say, you stand before different audiences, and as you stand before these audiences, you behave in a certain way. The way I behave in front of my class at school is different from the way I behave at home, is different than the way I behave in church, is different the way I behave when I go to a political gathering, a wedding. So who am I? I don't know, but at a given audience, I operate in a certain way. But if you ask me now, well, then who are you? I don't know. I operate differently depending on where I am. If I'm home, you might find me in a short pants. If the place is hot, you might find me in a drawers. If you pass through my home and came to visit, no way to come to my mind to be in a drawers. So immediately I am different just because you are in the house. And I hit the street to go to the market. I want to slippers at home, my short pants. I will not do that to go to the market. So who I am not who I am. You are not who you are. Who you are, you don't know. The safest bet is to say I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. But outside of that, you don't know who you are. You got me, Candice?
Thanks. Yes, I did. And coming back to the question I would have asked in terms of, the younger and younger generations, you mentioned a lot of things, the social media, the ads popping up, the links, the music, the movies, all these different things that affect. So how then can a youth who is listening to the program this morning, how can they cope with all of these societal pressures and all of these influences? How can they cope with that and still be abstinent?
They cannot. They cannot unless there's a intervention. There's a intervening something that intervene on what they are doing. They cannot. And once we as parents understand what they are bombarded with, then we need to change our focus on how we treating them. And the best way is to become their friends. This is not a job for the youth now. No, they cannot. We need to become their friends. Some we want to beat them and say, oh, you're a little thing. And some parents go far as to call their child as you're a slut. And they are not doing it to trouble you. They are not doing it because they feel they'll become popular and they'll win awards. They are doing it because they are compelled to do it by internal factors. And when those internal factors begin to compel them to do it, we got to give them something else. And we got to know that they will not stop the day we start to talk. It is a long-term strategy. You must have in your mind, I'm going for the long haul. I'm going to take her places with me. I'm going to give her things that she likes. I'm going to make sure there's nobody controlling her life. I'm going to do what he to her, I saying her. But you got to take it from the point that this is work. But for those who have young children and listening to me, you don't have to get to that stage, that teenage stage. You can begin that process now by taking your children where you are going, by talking to them, making joke with them, hearing them, asking them how the day was, telling them how your day was. You know what the Bible say? When you are lying down, you talk to them. When you stand up, you talk to them. When they're at the gate, you talk to them. Those are counsels that if we are taking that then, we ought to have problems now. But those are the counsels that you stick with them until they become your friend and you became their friend, until you begin to love each other. Stay the course. At the end of the day, you will have what you want. But those who are out there right now, it is difficult, I remember a guy I was dealing with, he was homosexual. And one thing he said to me, he said, I can't change from being homosexual. He said, but Pastor, you know what I could change? I could change having to sleep with men. And I think that's the first change. And I think once we rally, maybe one day he will be able to overcome homosexuality. But the first change is to stop the sex. And once we stop that sex, all kind of thing will fall into place after. Here comes.
Yes, I know we're coming down close to the end of the time we have this
And
morning.
last week, you were not with me. And I continued. And then at 10 o'clock, the radio station, Voice of Praise just cut me off because they have computerized programming. So
Okay.
at 2 minutes to 10, I will just play the ads again and we'll get out of here. All right?
Okay,
Go ahead.
sure. No problem. So coming on to the last question then. So my experience talking to persons and myself, I've found that the male tends to be the sex that is more aggressive when it comes to sex and in making advances. Do you agree with that statement? And if you do agree with that, why do you think, or what do you think is problematic in that situation then?
Once there was a time when I fully endorsed this idea that the male are the ones. I fully endorse that. Well, why it is easier to get a male to go to bed with you because of the value system that have been projected for male behavior. So it'll be easier to get a male to go to bed with any woman. But the female are just as aggressive. I'm a woman, I could be a grandfather. I have had 24 years and 25-year-old saying sexual things to me. So it is very different how we have it now. It is very different that female are as aggressive as male, but male can find sex easier than female. Because while female tend to look for certain men, most male tend to look for any woman. So that's a big difference there. So once a woman come to a male and talk sex, 90% of the time, she's going to get sex from him. While a male doing it to a woman, it might drop to about 50, 40%. There was a time when it was about 5%. But to every other young lady that you approach for sex as a young man, you'll get sex. It has changed. Why? I don't know. But it has changed. It has changed to the point where, girl, I don't know what to tell you now, but that's where we are. So, so until next week. Until next week, I want to say God's blessing upon you. God's blessing upon all those who have been listening to me this morning. Until next week, we'll come again and we will have a good time. Candice, bye-bye. We'll talk later.
Us to the vibrant tapestry we are today. Our flag witnesses it or carry our story proudly. Choose Baker's flags and emblems. Visit us today.
JD Furniture Store, we believe the things you choose for your home should last your family years to come. Whether it's a cozy furniture for your bedroom, living room, or kitchen appliances, we've got it all. Obsess over your home's comfort, and we'll obsess to ensure it's affordable with zero-down options and home by you in no time. Visit JD Furniture showroom in Arima or www.jdfurniturestore.com to buy and apply today. Open weekdays only. Call or WhatsApp 219-3000 today.
For 62 years, the Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventists has been writing stories of recovery, resilience, and renewal. Here, healing isn't just about medicine. It is about finding peace in a comfortable environment, strength in our state-of-the-art facilities, and hope in every interaction. At the Community Hospital, we are more than your healthcare providers. We are your neighbors, your friends, your family in healing. Your journey to wellness begins with a single call. Let's write your story of healing together.
For all your healthcare needs, give us a call at 622-1191 or visit our website, thecommunityhospital.org, to make an appointment today.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist.
Where good private health care is affordable.
And we
622-1191 or visit our website, thecommunityhospital.org, to make an appointment today.